101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the CEO of Learned, two times best-selling author, host of the Learn It All podcast, and a former collegiate baseball player, no other than Mr. Damon Lembi. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Damon, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, Daniel, first of all, I love the music. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. And yeah, my name is Damon Lembi. I'm the CEO of Learn It. I was born and raised in San Francisco Bay Area. And for the past 30 years, I've been running Learn It, which is a live learning platform, and we help upskill, and we've upskilled over 2 million people. So that's me in a nutshell.
Mr. Damon Lamby, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with the world. So let's talk about, is this your latest book, Mister?
Well, my latest book is called Good Decisions Equal Success. But this is my flagship book. This is a book, Good Decisions Equal Success. I wrote with my good friend, Candace Porter, because I'm really interested in decision making, and she's fantastic at that. So I gave some color to the stories and examples. But the book we're talking about today is called The Learn It All Leader Mindset, Tools, and Traits.
Indeed. So how do you define a learn it all leader compared to know it all leader?
So let's start off with know-it-alls. I mean, we all come across these individuals. They have all the answers. They're afraid to admit they're wrong, and it's either their way or the highway, and they're stuck in their ways. And on the flip side of that is you have a learn-it-all, somebody who's humble, who's curious, and always looking to learn and grow. And to me, Daniel, that's the big difference. It's somebody who's willing to say, hey, look, I don't have all the answers, but I'm curious and I want to learn and continually get better.
What are the core mindset shift you believe every leader needs to make?
Well, in today's world, especially with the rapid pace of change and AI and everything that's going on, it's that you have to be continuously evolving, and you need to be able to reach out to other people and learn from them, because you're always going to meet people who have more knowledge or are better at something than you are. And as a leader, it's important to know that it can't be all about you. It's about the people that you surround yourself with and tapping into their knowledge and leveraging that for both yourself to get better and also for your organization.
Can you share a personal story or moment that shaped your learn it all philosophy, Mr. Damon?
Yeah, I would say in the mid 90s, um, when things were going pretty well and San Francisco back then was going through the .com days, I really wanted to expand and open up other locations. And I got a lot of pushback from my dad and other people saying you should take it slow. Let's build on what we have. But I was a know-it-all. I'm like, I know what we're doing. This is going to be what's best. And sure enough, we opened up 5 or 6 locations, Daniel, and then the market crashed and we almost went out of business. So that was a really tough lesson. I was lucky to have my family support financially and motivationally to keep going. But that was a really good lesson for me to be not like so set in your ways and thinking you have all the answers, especially when you take somebody like my dad, who was a really successful business person for a long time. That really helped me understand that I don't have all the answers. You need to surround yourself with great people and listen to them, and make decisions that way.
Listen to them, people, and learn from your mistake. And Mr. Damon, what are the
Mhm.
top 3 traits that all learn it all leaders possess?
And one thing I wanted to say before I answer that question is what you said is very important. It's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to have
Yes.
failures. You just need to learn from them and do your best. And this is what I always tell people in the onboarding process that learn it. Do your best to not keep making the same mistakes. Make different mistakes, but learn from the mistakes and grow and evolve. Now, to answer your question, I would say the top traits of being a learn it all. these days. I actually have 5 of them. It's humility. We talked about that. It's integrity. You have to say what you're going to do what you're going to say. People want to follow a leader that has integrity. It's also having an ownership mindset, not the victim mindset you see out there where the world's happening to you. You want to make the world happening for you. I think that's super important. And then, the other ones are curiosity. And finally, which is very important, is courage. Have the courage to make bold decisions, take chances, learn something, but don't just learn it. Don't just read books. Take what you've learned and actually apply things, because you learning without doing is treason. So you got to put into action what you've learned. And as a leader, sometimes you have to make very difficult decisions, whether it's letting go a team member, whether it's shutting down a project that maybe you spent a lot of money on. So it takes a lot of courage, I think, to be a learn-it-all leader.
Beautifully articulated, Mr. Damon. Very
well
said. What kind of environment support or hinder a learn-it-all mindset?
Well, the kind of environment that hinders a learn-it-all mindset is a yes man attitude. And what I mean by that is an organization where you have to agree at all costs with the CEO or the executive team. And I coach and mentor people where that happens, where they're not going to come through with their own ideas and share those because they're afraid of the retaliation, what will happen if they give pushback. So if you work for an environment where, it's groupthink, we all have to go in one direction, that really hinders a learn-it-all mentality. If you want to have a great culture, I believe, a learning culture, a learn-it-all culture, it needs to be a culture where that has psychological safety, where people feel like that they trust their leadership, they trust their manager, and they can come to you with ideas, but also they can come to you with feedback, and share that feedback. And if you're somebody who gets defensive or gives pushback on it, people will stop coming to you with feedback and ideas. So instead, you listen to what they have to say. Again, you get curious. You don't have to implement it all the time, but you want to create a free flow and like a feedback loop within your organization and open the door to ideas and change.
What tools or techniques do you recommend to help leaders continuously grow and evolve?
Well, to continuously grow and evolve, it's not all just learning, reading books all the time. I think it's also, which reading is important, it's also learning in the moment. Having mentors that you can turn to. Let's say you're working in an organization and there's a senior executive that maybe you don't even know, but you inspire to be like them. Ask them to go get a cup of coffee and see if there's things you could learn from them. So that's one recommendation I have for you. As far as tools, I like an app called Readwise. So I'll read my book on a Kindle. I'll highlight certain things, and when I would do it in paper, I would, a paper book, I would never go back to those highlights. But with Readwise, I highlight things. I go to the app, and it sends me 5 to 10 highlights a day, and I just kind of read through them, and I think about how this applies to either my life personally or professionally, and it helps make the retention of learning stickier.
How does a learn-it-all leader handle failure or mistakes?
Great question. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. Let me give you a sales example. So just recently, we went up and we had this big opportunity for a 6-figure deal at Learnit, and unfortunately, we lost the deal. I thought we were in a good position to win the deal. We lost the deal, but instead of blaming the client or saying, they're wrong, or blaming my sales rep or whatever, I reached out to the client or the prospect and I said, look, I'm not trying to change your mind, but I'm just curious if you can share with me what we could have done differently. They hopped on a call with me, Daniel, and they shared what the other competitor did that we didn't do. And it came down to, we weren't aligned. We didn't listen well enough to what their needs were. And our solution that we presented wasn't the best fit for them. And that was a great learning opportunity for us right there. Because then I sat down with one of our sales reps, the one who made this presentation, and we talked about what we could do differently next time. That was a learning opportunity for them. It's a tough loss to take, but hopefully that gentleman and myself as a leader can learn from it and do better next time. And at the end of that call with that prospect that we lost the deal to, they said, I really appreciate the fact that you were curious and wanted to learn what you could do differently and didn't try to change your mind. And when another opportunity comes up, I'll reach out to you. And by the way, my colleague at another pharmaceutical company may be looking for training as well. So that is an example of how a Learn It All, I believe, handles failure and mistakes.
What are the biggest obstacles you have seen leader face when trying to adopt this mindset?
I think that one of the biggest obstacles that leaders face when trying to adopt a Learn It All mentality is sometimes lose patience. Um, and what I mean by that is it requires to be patient and to remain curious and listening. People will come to you all the time with ideas or different ways of doing things if you create that psychological safety for them. And sometimes your initial reaction is, no, we can't do this. It doesn't make sense. But if you sit back and you listen, a lot of times, and you remain open and you think, hey, look, maybe my idea isn't the best way, that is something that will move you forward. But that's difficult because it takes time and it takes consistency, and the results don't happen immediately all the time. So it requires you to have faith in the process and remain consistent.
Indeed, have faith in the process, people. Mr. Damon, can you describe a leader who perfectly embodies this mindset?
A leader who personally embodies these mindset. Yes, I can. It was a gentleman I interviewed on my show named Tom Mendoza. Tom Mendoza is the retired chairman of the board for NetApp, a massive company. And what I loved about speaking with Tom is that even retired, he's always curious and consistently wanting to learn and grow and share back his knowledge of all the work that he's done over the years to help other people. And he gave stories, Daniel, when he was at NetApp, it was all about people's attitude. So maybe you didn't go to Harvard, nothing wrong with Harvard or MIT, but maybe you went to a junior college, but if you worked hard and you showed up every day and you had the right attitude, that was somebody that he'd get behind and had your back. And his employees trusted him, believed in him. And another thing he used to do, which I think was really cool, is he would call 5 people a day from his organization of thousands of people. A lot of times they wouldn't pick up the phone. He'd just leave a voicemail and say, hey, this is Tom Mendoza. I just want to say I really appreciate what you do at NetApp. I heard you close a big deal, or you troubleshot this situation. Whatever it was, he took the time out of the day to do so. And I think that he's a people first leader, which I think is right in line with the whole Learn It All mentality.
I think we need to give him an applause.
Yeah, I think so too.
For having that mindset. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You deserve an applause.
Definitely. So, Mr. Damon, as a CEO of Learn It, and as an author and a host or podcast host too, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, my short-term goal, one of the things I love about the industry that I'm in, learning and development, is that it's all about helping upskill people, give them confidence, and become better leaders. Now, you don't have to necessarily run a team to be a leader. I think we're all leaders. So, short term, it's implementing some AI that will help supplement the content that we have. And so we have some easy, low-hanging fruit that we're doing. So that's something that we're coming out with in 2025. So I consider that short term. Long term, I mentioned this to you maybe before. I got 2 little kids, a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. And my long-term goal, which has always been somewhat similar, but especially more now with kids, is to help create or be a part of developing better leaders. So there's better leaders for generations to come. And the work we do at Learn It all across the world, we've upskilled over 2 million people, is I believe a lot of times we're giving them the confidence and the skill set they need to lead better across generations. So that is really my long-term goal, is to continue doing that and getting better at it over and over again.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Damon, and looking forward for your success. What role
Thank
does
you.
mentorship play in becoming a learn it all leader?
I think mentorship plays a big role in becoming a learn it all leader, and it works both ways. You know, mentoring. I've got over a dozen people that I mentor, and I found that I learn just as much from them as they probably learn from me. You know, especially these younger generations. So where we might see things, very differently. Um, but I think a learn it all leader is also puts other people first and looks to give more than get. And I think a lot of times that's really what mentorship is. It's helping people achieve goals or become what they want to become. And I think it's critical to be a mentor, especially if you've been around for 30 years like I have. I want to take some of the lessons, the successes, and especially the failures that I've had, and help people either avoid them or learn from them to achieve their goals.
Mr. Damon, what will be advice
Mhm.
for those people out there who want to be like you?
That want to be like me. Well,
Yes.
I, I would say, first of all, you don't want to be like me. You want to be like yourself, because we're all unique in our own ways. And with that being said, whether it's me, whether it's you, we don't need to reinvent the wheel either. We can take and look at what other people have done successfully, and we can implement it in our own lives. So you want to have your own point of view. I think that's incredibly important. Um, and you should continue to reach out and find mentors that can share some of their experience. So it's a combination of being yourself and learning from others.
Again, Mr. Damon, very well said. Beautifully articulated. How can leaders use this mindset to navigate times of uncertainty or disruption?
I think that this is a very important question, because there's so much uncertainty going on in the world, whether it's political or whether it's uncertainty in the economy, and also with AI and all the rapid changes. And I think it's very, very important. And a lot of it comes back to adaptability, and being adaptable and willing to change and pivot. And if you have a know-it-all mentality, like when we started off this conversation, then you're going to really struggle with adapting and changing. But if you have a learn-it-all mentality, you're going to be and you're able to go with the flow, try things, be okay with failure, learn from your mistakes. You're going to have a much better opportunity to be successful.
Indeed. How does emotional intelligence connect with learn it all leadership?
Well, I think that emotional intelligence, let's focus on self-awareness. I think great leaders, and again, we're all leaders in our own way, because it starts with self-leadership, have strong self-awareness. So, what I mean by that is if something goes wrong, the first thing that they do is they look in the mirror. Instead of blaming other people, they look in the mirror. What could I have done differently? What could I have done better? Or they say, how am I coming across to my employees? Or how am I coming across to my mentors, or whatever it is? But emotional intelligence, self awareness, we're talking about, and also just being able to manage your emotions, which is very difficult, because sometimes there's a roller coaster in business, especially as a leader. I think it's critical when it comes to decision making, when it comes to leading people, and when it, you know, everything. I think it's everything. Having a strong EQ, and really focusing in on the self awareness piece of it.
Mr. Raymond, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, my abstract poetry second season, and of course my book 101 review in its fifth season, comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 and Love Letters in third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Movie 101 Review, and Music 101 in its fourth season. So please do listen them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Damon, what's one practical step leader can take today to begin embracing the learn it all mindset?
Well, first of all, I'm going to have to check out this Love Letters podcast you have. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary, and so maybe I can get some tips on writing some good love letters, Daniel. So I'll
Yes.
have to check. I'll have to check that one out for you from you.
Got it.
To
Thank
answer
you.
your question, um, one thing I like to say a lot is great leaders aren't born or made; they're always in the making. So there's always more to learn. There's always somebody out there that that's better at something than you. So don't ever feel like you're done. Always continue to learn and grow and get better.
Yes, people. Make sure that you're learning every day, Mr. Damon Lembi. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your projects?
Yeah, I would say connect with me on LinkedIn at Damon Lembi. Check out my podcast, the Learn It All podcast. I'm a big fan of podcasts. I love it. And go to learnit.com and you can see what we have to offer there. And of course, you can find either of my books on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or wherever you pick up your books.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Damon Lembi, because if you support him, more and more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself to come. So, Mr. Damon Lembi, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
More to come, people. See you soon.